What's up guys? Today I want to talk about breaking plateaus. So the solution to breaking plateaus is very simple. So number one is to do more. And what do I mean by doing more? So doing more involves either one of the three things or a combination of these next three things, which shouldn't be a surprise. Number one, to increase frequency. Number two, increase volume. Or number three, increase intensity. Okay, but you can play with it and determine how you can do more, without being too disruptive or too difficult, okay? And by doing more, I mean specifically the competition lifts, okay? I'm not talking about secondary movements. And my second point is to break through plateaus is number two, is to change your secondary movements, okay? So let me give you an anecdotal example. So my deadlift, it was stuck for a while, for 18 months, from 496 to 501. So I mean, it was in quite a hard spot. But what did I change? Is mainly I started training much harder. Okay, so I think at that point I was still deadlifting twice a week, but I really ramped up the intensity. And number two, add on top of that, what I did was I added the secondary movement of conventional deadlifts. Okay, and I really didn't like conventional deadlifts just due to the fact that it was so painful in the back. Okay, so I may be doing conventional deadlifts in a less efficient way right now, but it allows me to do it in a way where I'm relatively pain-free or virtually pain-free from doing it. Okay, and for that example, the conventional deadlift, I'm starting off with my hips much higher, so it's more like more akin to a stiff leg deadlift. But again, it allows me to work my back, again, which is very weak still. I consider weak, but again, it's something that I added that really got my deadlift to the next level. So from that time span, it went from 496 equipped to 573 equipped. Okay, and then also from that time frame for raw, my competition best at that point was 440 pounds, and now it's 545 pounds. And again, keep in mind this is at the same weight class. So again, this is an absolute improvement in terms of weight lifted, Wilks, and per pound body weight lifted. So again, it's a definitive improvement. Okay, so okay, back to my point. So number one is to do more. Okay, so increase your frequency, volume, intensity, play with those variables. Again, it is totally up to you as far as how you want to manipulate those three factors. Doing all three at once may be very difficult, so you may want to play with one factor. So you may want to increase frequency, keep the volume and intensity similar. But again, as you become more advanced, you're going to be doing more and more to get those personal records. Okay, and number two is to switch your current secondary movements. So if you're, for example, as a plateau for 3 consecutive meets, you aren't seeing any improvement, then you may want to add in a secondary movement or change up a secondary movement to see if that definitively improves your competition lifts. Okay, so for squat, it may be, for example, a pause squat, maybe a high bar squat, high bar pause squat, like tempo squats, front squats, safety squat, bar squats. There's just so many variations that you can do. So again, you may want to switch to something that will improve your lift, and you can just experiment with it. Okay, so there's nothing set in stone. But again, during this time frame, you always want to do the competition lifts. Okay, and I cannot stress that enough. You're not going to replace a primary competition lift with a secondary lift. Okay, that's just foolish. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is definitive indicators and non-definitive indicators. So for example, how do you gauge your progress, in terms of if you're plateauing or not, in terms of indicators that are not 1 rep maxes, okay? Because again, I like I stressed before, I don't recommend doing 1 rep maxes all the time in the gym because they're counterproductive. And again, it's just not how professionals do it. Okay, this is not how really experienced powerlifters train. Okay, so they always leave something behind in the gym so they can save it for the competition. But anyways, what I wanted to state here is for my third point is the definitive and non-definitive indicators. So let me give you an example of a definitive indicator outside of a 1 rep max. So that would be, for example, I squat 315 for 5 reps. But the next time I do 315 for 6 reps. So therefore you are stronger. Okay, so that's an example of a definitive indicator. Okay, and Non-definitive indicator, I'll use the same example. So let's say I do 315 times 5 and it was an absolute grinder. I could not do any more reps, okay? But let's say 1 month down the road I do 315 for 5 and it's relatively easy and you could have cranked out 2 more reps. So that's 8 RPE, okay? So RPE is a very popular way to measure like how much exertion you're doing on a set. But those are the 2 ways you can determine your progress without actually doing a 1 rep max. And that's how you indicate if you're breaking through plateaus. So those definitive and non-definitive indicators. So hope you guys learned something and stay tuned for the next blog.